Greetings everyone and welcome to Spacing Out. I'm Jason McClellan.
And I'm Maureen Elsberry. Thanks for joining us.
A new movie is in production that will follow a journalist, a historian, and an activist while exploring the notion that the U.S. government is withholding information about UFOs and extraterrestrials. We'll talk more about that soon, but first let's talk about some of the other stories that have made headlines recently.
UK celebrity and UFO enthusiast Shaun Ryder is releasing a book titled What Planet Am I On? In this book, he reveals details relating to two personal unexplained UFO encounters he experienced growing up in the English city of Salford, located in Greater Manchester.
The Manchester Evening News reports that one of these sightings occurred when he was a teenager waiting for the school bus. Ryder explains, "I was standing at a bus stop at the height at about 9 p.m. at night. I looked up and just saw hundreds of lights across the sky. Hundreds of them. My first thought was, are we being invaded? It was amazing. I thought I'd never seen anything like it in my life."
Ryder's second UFO sighting took place when he was on his way to his job as a postboy. He describes seeing an object flash across the sky in front of him at what he estimates was 10,000 miles per hour.
According to the Manchester Evening News, his 200-page book looks at the case for the existence of UFOs as well as Ryder's own views on the significance of life beyond this world. What Planet Am I On is being released in conjunction with Ryder's new 4-part television series titled Shaun Ryder on UFOs. The show premieres November 10th on History UK, while the book will be released on November 7th.
A woman was astounded when she saw a UFO hovering over the Hertfordshire town of Garston in England on the morning of Wednesday, October 23rd.
At approximately 5:20 a.m., witness Claire Norton stepped outside to smoke while she waited for her baby's bottle to cool. It was then that she observed this strange, bright object in the sky. She explained to the Watford Observer, "I thought it was just a plane at first, but it just stayed there and kept glowing for around 10 to 15 minutes. It was right in front of me and I thought, what the hell is that? It stayed right in front of me. I couldn't believe it."
Norton ran inside to get her camera, and when she returned, she managed to photograph the UFO. After feeding her baby, she looked again but saw that the object was gone. She explained, "I was shocked as I don't believe in things like that, but I have changed my mind as I have seen it."
Members of the University of Arizona's faculty and staff recently published a book in which they speculate about extraterrestrial life and the potential moral and ethical implications of encountering such life.
University of Arizona scientists compiled and edited a collection of works by astronomers, philosophers, and biologists, which make up the new book, Encountering Life in the Universe: Ethical Foundations and Social Implications of Astrobiology. Its description on Amazon.com explains that the book examines the intersection of scientific research and society to further explore the ethics of how to behave in a universe where much is unknown. Taking contributions from notable experts in several fields, the editors skillfully introduce and develop a broad look at the moral questions facing humans on Earth and beyond.
According to UA News, the idea for the book stemmed from a UA conference held in 2008 on the ethical implications of astrobiology. Revealing the impetus for the book, one of its editors, Chris Impey, UA Distinguished Professor and Deputy Head of UA Department of Astronomy and Stewart Observatory, explains, "We wanted to recognize that if we find life elsewhere, it's not just going to be a second version of biology, it's going to raise a whole set of other issues. For example, do we have the right to mine or alter other worlds? Do we have the right to mess up our own planet?"
UA News describes that in the book, contributing authors discuss questions of how to behave in the universe, how we should treat inhabitants of other planets if or when we reach them, whether or not we have the right to make use of their resources, and perhaps most importantly, how will we relate to other life forms, intelligent or otherwise, if we encounter them.
So when do these researchers believe life will be discovered elsewhere in the universe? Impey explains, "I've asked as many researchers in this field as I can. What do they really think? And most of them say within 5 to 10 years we'll probably find life elsewhere."
Encountering Life in the Universe: Ethical Foundations and Social Implications of Astrobiology was published by the University of Arizona Press and is now available at Amazon.com.
A man posted a video to YouTube on October 1st that shows a ball of light appear in the sky above Akureyri, Iceland. The video shows this strange light landing in a populated neighborhood.
This video was quickly reposted by several UFO and conspiracy websites, asserting that the video is proof of an extraterrestrial craft landing in Iceland. But not everyone shares this conclusion. Many believe the video to be a hoax created by its uploader. His YouTube channel description does say that he is a sky watcher who posts videos about what happens to your sky and you, the information you do not get in the news. But as far as the object in this particular video goes, the witness isn't claiming it to be an alien spacecraft.
The description he posted with the video states, Sat on my chair and studied a live webcam on Iceland in the city Akureyri. I got the movie live at that time, day 29, September 2013, and discovered a strange glowing ball falling from the sky. It's not a helicopter or plane, clear to see. I have had the opportunity to believe it is a kind of drone. The ball lands in a garden, and you can see that it is as if there's a fire in a short time just after it landed or dropped. I do not know what it is, but it looks quite interesting. Maybe something climate, experimental, military.
Aside from visiting aliens or a hoax video, a possible explanation for the mysterious light in this video is a rocket parachute flare. This type of flare typically only illuminates once it has reached its peak altitude. That would explain the sudden appearance of the light in the UFO video.
One viewer who watched the Iceland video commented, "Actually, the local police in Akureyri have investigated this matter and were able to confirm this was indeed a shot from a flare gun. But this claim is unconfirmed at this time." But Maureen, I think that's pretty accurate, judging by what I've seen in other videos of this type of flare. And like you said, that would explain how in this video you just see it appear in the sky when it's already up there and then coming down.
It's quite clear to me that that's probably the likely explanation. And we even have those comparison videos on our website that other people can go and look at them. And yeah, I think it's nothing mysterious, honestly.
It was interesting to see some of the speculations that people were throwing out. There were a lot of people absolutely confirmed that it was a Chinese lantern, and they were upset that people were calling it anything other than a Chinese lantern. I understand initially, or if you're just looking at a still image of this video, because a bright light in the sky, a big orange light in the sky, yeah, that's kind of like a Chinese lantern. But with the movement of this object and the way it comes down, it's still fully illuminated when it hits the ground. Chinese lanterns don't come down until their fuel cells expire.
Right, exactly.
And some people were also thinking it was a fake and created, and it was a reversed video of the launching of a Chinese lantern. But there's traffic driving in the street.
Yeah.
You can see the cars driving. They would have had to have everybody orchestrate this together and get everybody driving their cars backwards down the street.
It's most likely that it's not a hoaxed video, but there's a simple explanation for it.
Yep.
And again, onto this other sighting, this stationary orb that was photographed. I really have nothing to go on, in my opinion, to judge what this object was.
It's really difficult when we get photos like this of bright lights in the sky, especially in the night sky, because cameras have a difficult time getting any detail except a big bright ball of light. And people describe things differently. This woman says that the object was just there, hovering for 10 to 15 minutes or whatever she said. Now, does that mean it was completely motionless? We don't know. Now, Chinese lanterns can be in the sky 10 to 15 minutes. It's pretty long for a Chinese lantern. Those are typically just a couple of minutes. But was it an object that was drifting, or was it completely stationary? We don't know.
And it's hard to say, and with that sort of time frame of hovering for 10 to 15 minutes, the likelihood maybe that somebody else saw it would be pretty high, and it'd be great to have another angle of this object to come to some sort of conclusion. But right now it's just a bright orb blob.
Right. So all we know now is it was strange and unidentified.
Yep.
Many people are firmly convinced that the U.S. government is withholding information about UFOs and extraterrestrials. Revealing this so-called Truth Embargo was one of the primary purposes of the recent citizen hearing that took place earlier this year at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C.
There's a film currently in production titled Truth Embargo that explores this topic while documenting the citizen hearing.
I recently spoke with the film's director, Jeremy Corbell, to learn more about the project. All right, Jeremy, so how was it that you came to be involved in this project that encompasses or includes the citizen hearing?
Right. So talking specifically about Truth Embargo, the film, a good friend of mine named Ruben Langdon essentially found out that I was interested in these subjects and had, in a strange way, been able to see that I had put up a video a long time ago called Silver Surfer, which was a sighting I had of something in the sky. I didn't know what it was. I posted it, and all of a sudden Bill Nye the Science Guy is on TV saying I superimposed sea monkeys, brine shrimp into my film. It's like
right, you were a big hoaxer, yeah.
And so it was hilarious, you know. And so my friend Ruben saw that, realized it was me, found out that I was working for the last few years on one specific person within this field that I've been trying to do a story about or film about, and said, hey, Steve Bassett and I are going to be doing this thing called the citizen hearing. I had introduced them originally, so it was a natural fit. And he asked if I would want to make a movie regarding some of the witnesses with the citizen hearing. My approach is that the story is about these individuals who are, kind of champions of the cause of allowing people to know that our planet is being visited by non-humans and has been visited by non-humans since the beginning of recorded human history, as far as we can tell. Now, that's the belief that people are going off of. That is what people actually think. So, as a filmmaker, Truth Embargo will be about the human interest, the human side. Who are these people? Who is the journalist? Who is the historian? Who is the activist? And how are they working symbiotically all together towards a single goal? It culminates at the citizen hearing, but it goes beyond that in the film. And that's where we are now. We've gotten to the point of the citizen hearing and everybody prepping for it. And now it's what is happening after that? What has the impact been? And where are we going? And of course, you know who the journalist, the historian, and the activist is.
Right. It's an interesting setup, and I like this approach of, it's not a documentary about the citizen hearing, that's an element to it, but I like how you set it up and follow this human element, and you do have interesting people in it, your journalist Linda Moulton Howe, your historian Richard Dolan, and your activist Stephen Bassett. So I like how you're laying that up, and I'm fascinated to see how it unfolds in the movie.
And one more aspect that's really important about this film that we cannot overlook, which is that there is a reason these three people are together and the citizen hearing is all, part of this. And that's because there is an interview that I did for the film with someone that, as of right now, we're calling anonymous. And that was a wild, wild journey to get to that point of actually interviewing him. Whether you believe his story or not, this began with this witness in, I think it was 1998, when Linda Moulton Howe did this original phone call to him and heard his story, did her best to vet his story. It kind of aired on Coast to Coast, and then all of a sudden, out of respect for his wishes, he was off radar. He was untouchable. No one talked to him. And then all of a sudden, he reemerges, or he doesn't reemerge, but a team of people came to me and said, this guy, we could talk to him again. And at the time, I didn't know anything about it. So they grabbed Richard. We rushed out there and ended up doing this 2-day-long interview in the middle of nowhere up by the Canadian border. And I have to say, we released 17 minutes at the citizen hearing just as a different kind of testimony, because you really, it's going to be up to you guys. It's going to be up to everybody else to verify this guy's authenticity. But I will say that verification process began in 1992 with Linda Moulton Howe. She did a 20-page report on it. So there's a lot there. And in the movie, in the film, Truth Embargo, we're going to rely on that testimony, and I'm going to start dissecting it a little bit.
Cool, yeah. And yeah, the interview is interesting, and we've got that clip and an article about Anonymous on our website. So that's 17 minutes. So is there extended interview in Truth Embargo with Anonymous?
Well, Truth Embargo is currently in the process of production, not even in post-production.
Okay.
We have finished about, I'd say, 50% or more, actually, of the filming. A lot of it included what we did the weekend at the citizen hearing, but we've gone all over the country for this film. We still need to film. So the producers have decided to launch a fundraising campaign to finish the production of the film, which I'm sure will be successful in however they end up doing it. Ultimately, by any means necessary, this film is going to be complete. But we have a great team, and the question, I think, was, are you going to see more of Anonymous in the film?
Correct.
You better bet you're going to see more of Anonymous in the film.
Excellent, excellent. So if people want to support the film, can they do that at truthembargomovie.com?
Yeah, they can go to truthembargomovie.com, and then what happens is they can click on the fundraising campaign and just see kind of what the incentives are. Obviously we're trying to, get people involved in all this. There's 100 ways this film could end up being finished, but that is one way that, actually as a fan myself, you can get some pretty cool stuff. So check it out.
Nice. And when ideally would you like to have this film finished?
Well, you know what? That's interesting. That's wholly dependent upon how this story unfolds. I have a few more, I guess, primary shots that I need to do this year. Starting 2014 is when we launch kind of the last phase of the filming, depending on, the budget that we have at the time. And I'm not going to prolong this. So I can estimate right now that we're going to wrap up in mid 2014.
Cool. Well, I look forward to it, Jeremy. I mean, the way you've laid this out and the way you presented, this information that's very important, and the citizen hearing by itself was a unique event and something filled with important testimony. So I like your approach with this. It sounds fascinating. It sounds like a good way to do it. So I myself, I've become a fan reading about what you're doing with it. So I'm excited to see it. And I am looking forward to your other projects as well that you can't mention right now, but we'll have to talk about that in the future for sure.
Well, I can say one thing about that if you want.
Well, I'll leave that up to you.
Okay, cool. Well, first, I just want to say, about the citizen hearing and all that. Honestly, I'm just kind of like a viewer. I'm just impressed. That was because of the hard work of Ruben Langdon and Stephen Bassett. I just want to make that really clear. I'm really lucky to be involved with this project. Those guys, and I'm talking Ruben in particular, man, that guy's worked his butt off. So, I just want to say to them, wow, good job and thank you. I'm very honored to be part of this film. I'm super excited about it. About the other things, I mean, if people were listening, it's no real secret. So George Knapp was actually the first person. He's like a mentor. He's been a mentor for me for the last 3 years because of the subject of my film. He's actually announced it in print and on Coast to Coast before. So the secret's kind of out. For the last 3 years, I've been filming and doing a in-depth look at the life of John Lear, who I'm sure a bunch of your viewers will know who he is.
Right.
By the time this film comes out, they're going to really know a lot more about John Lear. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super grateful to George Knapp for everything that he's done to help me with that film. So that's kind of the secret. The cat's been out of the bag for a while. People have been listening to what George has been saying.
Yeah, I remember he mentioned it when you were on Coast with him last. So.
Yeah, and then the other thing to look out for, just personally, is I've been doing another film right now, working in another field, which is nanotechnology, and I've even been able to film at NASA. So this is going to be a really amazing new content that's going to be coming out as well. Hopefully all of this in regarding to Vice, because they have really championed the first release of any of this, and I want to thank them for that. I mean, they were the first to, put out these 3 clips that people can see.
Cool. And for these other projects that you're working on, where can people go to follow your work?
Yeah, those other projects will have, they'll be announced in their right times.
Okay.
But to follow my work, gosh, I would say the best way to do that would be through social media. So you just go to, my Facebook page. I mean, I guess that's the best way to do it.
That's great. Yeah, and we'll post.
I'm not hard to find, So
we'll post links for that in the description of the video so people can find it easily. Well,
yeah,
Jeremy,
I'll think about the right place to
okay,
send
cool.
people to connect with the film work.
Yeah. Jeremy, thanks a lot, man. It's been great talking to you, and you certainly are a busy guy, and these are some pretty cool projects you're working on, so I can't wait to see them. You and I have talked about these for a while now, so I can't wait to see them finally come to be. And yeah, man, good luck with everything.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate yours and Maureen's approach when you do these shows and everything. And I think you're really doing a service, for the entire idea, the entire concept, that people understand there's more going on than it appears. And you guys are kind of helping to crack that open, and I appreciate it. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Our pleasure. And one more thing I want to point out, and I want to applaud you for, is with Truth Embargo specifically, you know, your approach is right in line with ours, and that you're not trying to tell anybody what to believe. You're just putting the information out there so people can see what is out there and then make up their own minds.
Absolutely. You know, the architecture of belief is very important. Telling somebody something that they have no personal evidence for is a very cheaply earned standpoint. People only come to resolve where they can act in the world from a knowledge point if they themselves have the experience where they understand, or they have done the research, or they have seen something. So telling people doesn't do anything. But if you can literally weaponize their curiosity to the point where they have no choice but to dig into this themselves, then the truth will be revealed. The truth, as you guys say, like, you know, the truth is begging for us to have, to have open minds. I mean, you guys are called open minds, right?
Yep. Yeah,
So
well
anyway,
said, my friend. It's great talking to you, and yeah, there's so much to talk about here, so we'll have to have you on again.
Okay, great. Anytime, and thanks again.
You got it. Thank you, Jeremy. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing this movie, and Jeremy's got a lot more in store that he's working on, and he told me that he may have something to submit for the film festival coming up at the 2014 International UFO Congress.
He better.
Yeah, he better. We'll give him grief if he doesn't.
But yeah, the conference is running from February 12th through the 16th, and we have over 20 speakers, panel discussions. We have the film festival and other exciting events. And you can find out more about that at ufocongress.com.
ufocongress.com, yeah. And check out some of the speakers. We've got a really diverse lineup this year, and a lot of people that you don't usually see speaking at conferences. I know that's a big complaint a lot of people have with UFO conferences. It's the same people talking about the same things they've talked about for the last 20 years. We've got an interesting lineup this year of people who don't typically speak.
Right. I think it's going to be dynamic and interesting, and a lot of different varying viewpoints, which should make for some heated debate.
Yeah, it makes for a good conference.
Yeah. Well, I also want to mention one other thing. Our colleague Alejandro Rojas will be appearing on November 3rd on the E! Network for, this may sound strange to some, an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yeah, this is interesting, and some people might think it's pretty ridiculous. But before you just write it off completely, I know many of you probably don't watch that show, but give it a shot. This should be an interesting episode, and Travis Walton's in the episode too.
Right, and a lot of people are already sort of posting backlash to this. And what I've said to people is, look at it in this light. You know, this is one of the highest rated shows on television, as much as that's shocking. And that this phenomenon is going to be exposed to millions more people who would never really think about it in this matter. And maybe there might be some campy making fun of the subject, but two of the people involved in this are actually seriously interested in this, and people idolize them. And guess what? They're probably going to go start thinking, well, if they believe that the UFO phenomenon is real, maybe it is, and go search for information, and then they're going to find the serious information. You know, sometimes you take a gamble with that and, you know, exposing it to a greater population.
Yep. We'll see how it turns out. You know, Alejandro was involved, and he had a good experience with it, so we'll see what they end up doing with it when it goes to broadcast.
It's all in the edit bay.
Yeah, but it should be good, and it'll be the first time I've ever watched the show.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, that is all for this episode of Spacing Out. Remember, you can visit openminds.tv for all the latest news, and if you're a podcast listener, go listen to Alejandro Rojas at openminds.tv/radio and check out Open Minds UFO Radio.
Make sure to click on the like button if you enjoyed today's show, and remember to subscribe to our channel. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm Maureen Elsberry.
And I'm Jason McClellan. We will see you in the future.
If you have a UFO sighting or something you would like to report to Open Minds, you can go to our website at openminds.tv and click the contact button to send us your request. Or you can email us at contact@openminds.tv. You can also call us at 1-877-UFO-0110. That's 1-877-836-0110.